Now, in cost accounting, in costing or management accounting, the high-low method is used as one of the methods of cost estimation. So when talking about the methods of cost estimation, we have regression method. We also have the graphical method, the high-low method. We have the engineering method, among other methods. We also have the account analysis method that is used when estimating cost. When talk about estimating cost, methods of cost estimation, it's like you want to come up with an equation that will help you to estimate any cost that may be incurred or forecasted in the future. Now, when using the high-low method and coming up with an equation y is equal to a plus bx, then we'll need to understand a few things first. Y stands for the dependent variable, while x stands for the independent variable. A stands for the fixed cost, while B will be standing for the variable cost per unit. Now, in using the high-low method, then how do you get the variable cost per unit, which is abbreviated as B? Now, B will be looking at the total cost at the highest level of activity. So what is the cost at the highest level of activity? Then what is the cost at the lowest cost? Then you divide that with the number of units at high and also the number of units at low. So you can see how this is done in the equation that we have here. The total cost at high minus the total cost at low over the number of units at high minus the number of units at low. Then after estimating the variable cost per unit, which is B, you are also required to estimate the fixed cost, which is B. Now there are two ways of doing that. You can use the highest level or you can use the lowest level. If you're using the highest level, then the fixed cost will be the total cost at high, then subtract that from the number of units at high times the variable cost per unit. But if you are getting the fixed cost using the lowest levels, then that will be the total cost at low minus the number of units at low multiplied by the variable cost per unit, which of course we would have obtained by using the method that we have up there. Now moving into what we have, the advantages and disadvantages, you will go through that, like easy to calculate, provides accuracy if the activity and cost are perfectly linear, of course. Disadvantages: only works in a linear relationship, only takes into account the highest and lowest activities, it ignores inflation, it is oversimplified and ignores the step costs. Now we have an example that we want to use so that we can get the equation y is equal to a plus bx. Now consider the following data, and the data reads, the following data was obtained from XZ Limited, a manufacturing entity that specializes in the production of recycled carrier Uhuru bags. Now we have the labor hours that have been given, then we have the production cost. So labor hours and production cost. Now this will be termed as the dependent variable. We have the dependent variable in the production cost, then we have the independent variable in the labor hours. Having gone through the question is to locate the total cost at high here. And at our level now, assuming the data is big, how do you get the total cost at high? Now, total cost at high, you can use the max function. So you can apply the max function, assuming the data is big. So equal sign, then max, then tab, the max function. Then select the highest level of activity from the production cost. The total cost at high is 510,600. Then the total cost at low, you will use the mean function. So equal sign, mean, tab, then select from 120 to 105,400. It will give you the lowest cost, which is 40,000. So max and mean here, equal sign, max, tab. Now we will use the labor hours, close bracket, enter. Then the number of units at low equal sign min tab, select from 453 to 140, then close bracket, enter. That will be the number of units at high and the number of units at low. Now on to variable cost per unit, that will be equal sign, bracket, click on the total cost at high minus the total cost at low, close bracket, over, open bracket, the number of units at high minus the number of units at low, and that will give us the variable cost per unit. When getting the fixed cost, you can either decide to use the highest activities, the highest levels, or the lowest levels. So assuming the highest level, then fixed cost will be equal sign, then the total cost at high, you click on the total cost at high minus, open bracket, then the number of units at high times the variable cost per unit, which is B, then close the bracket and enter. That will give us the A. Go for the lowest level, you use the lowest level to get a fixed cost. That will be equal sign, the total cost at low minus, open bracket, the number of units at low times the variable cost per unit. This variable cost per unit, close bracket, enter. That is 11,988, same as the other one. The equation will be as follows. Y is equal to, they're saying Y is equal to A is 11,988.10 plus B is 560.24 X. That is how the equation will look like. On to estimation of production cost, now that you already have the equation. Once you have the equation, then estimate if the labor hours, estimate the production cost if you have the following labor hours. So the formula will be equal sign. Remember, Y is equal to A plus BX, so equal sign. Click on A. A is this, the 11,988.10, lock with absolute cell referencing, plus, then open bracket, BX, click on B, the 560.24, lock it, then multiply that with the labor hours, which are 950. Don't lock the labor hours, close bracket, enter, and that will estimate for you the production cost, after which you drag down. You want to use it to answer the same way. What if they had asked high-low method in this question that was tested in December 2022, question 25, though it required regression. Now, Farmgate Company Limited produces and sells shovels. The company provides the following data for quantities of shovels produced and the related production cost for the calendar year 2021. Now, determine the variable cost per unit and the total variable cost using the high-low method. So using the high-low method. So they want us to determine something using the high-low method. So we start. What is the total cost at high? Total cost at high, so equal sign max. I think we can get that somewhere, or we can just highlight them. Which one is the highest level of activity here? The highest cost? 36 is the highest cost. So this is 36, can highlight it. So lowest, the highest activity is 350. Lowest activity and lowest cost, 11. Then the other one is going to be 90. Now those ones are the highest and lowest from what we see here. You can use them as they are. Now determine the variable cost per unit here. B, the variable cost per unit will be equal sign, bracket, total cost at high minus the total cost at low, close bracket, over number of units at high. So before that, you open bracket again. Then the number of units at high minus the number of units at low. Close bracket, enter. Now fixed cost will be equal sign. You can use the highest level or the lowest level. I want to use the highest level. The total cost at high minus open bracket, the number of units at high times variable cost per unit, which is B, close bracket, enter. The fixed cost equal sign total cost at high minus open bracket, the number of units at high times the variable cost per unit, close bracket, and enter. So it's 2,346,153. Question that determine the variable cost per unit, which is this. This is the variable cost per unit, and the total variable cost using the high-low method. They also want the total variable cost. For you to get the total variable cost, then you need to get the variable cost per unit per month. So we want to get the variable cost per unit per month, then we'll add all of them here, which is why we have variable cost per unit per month up there, equal sign. Click on the units in January, which is 150,000, times, then click on the variable cost per unit, which is 96.15, then lock the 96.15. Don't lock the units, just lock the variable cost per unit, enter, then drag down to December. So we'll enter, then drag down to December. Get the total, which will be alt equal, enter, 233. Then you can feed this, the total variable cost will be equal sign, then you click on 233, enter. So the answers have been determined here, the variable cost per unit and the total variable cost. Let us estimate the total production cost if the following number of units are produced. So estimate if you produce the following number of units, and we've prepared this schedule here. Y is equal to A plus BX. So that will be equal sign. Y is the dependent. Now A is the 2,346,000. Lock that. Plus, so lock the A. Plus, then open bracket. BX, so B is the units, like 100,000. Don't lock B. Then times the variable cost per unit, which is, now this is X, don't lock X. Then multiply with the variable cost per unit, which is B, of 96.15. Now lock that. Lock the B here. Close bracket, enter, then drag down. That is the high-low method in Excel.